My name is Priyal. Arpan, are you there on the call?
Yes, sir.
So do you want to just give the context or should I start it?
You can start, sir.
Thank you. Is my voice audible and all that? Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Fine. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Priyal. And I'll just introduce myself. I have around 21 years of experience in the IT industry. I worked with various companies in product development as well as services. I'm a agile transformation consultant, as well as safe program consultant and accredited Kanban trainer. So I've been giving this agile training and Kanban trainings for quite some time now. So today I'm representing StarAgile for providing this Kanban webinar. So what we will be discussing today is, okay, just 1 second. Okay. Sorry, my slide, agenda slide was hidden. Okay. Can you guys be on mute? And if there is any question, please stop me and ask me questions. Okay, so this is what we will discuss today in the next 1 hour, and I'll keep some time for question and answers at the end, around 10 minutes, so that we can have some healthy conversation. Okay, so in terms of Kanban, right? So if I have to talk about the history of Kanban, so after the World War II, I think people, can you guys go on mute, Chinmay or? Okay. So after the World War II, the Japanese car industry, how it all started, right? The car industry was stagnated and they could not compete with, the American car manufacturers. So there was this engineer called Taichi Uno from Toyota, then identified something called 7 types of wastes. And that these 7 type of waste, what he said was that decrease the throughput of Toyota, and they implemented and they reduced that waste and they saw a improvement there. Now what happened, they also determined that overproduction was also waste, and customers, what happens is when we overproduce something and cars are overproduced, customers would change their demand, and there was too much of inventory and we'll have to have parking of inventory. Then and when there's too much of inventory, what happens is it takes months to recoup the investments. uh, Ashwin, can you go on mute please? And it takes months to recoup the investment. The only solution for this was to produce what is really required. So what happened was, during this time, this was in the period of 1950s, and in 1956, Taichi Uno traveled to US, and what he saw in a retail store, which was called as Piggly Wiggly retail store in US, and they were able to maintain only the desired or required inventory in the shelf. And how they were able to maintain? By signaling something whenever the stock is going beyond a certain point in time. So immediately Taichi got the idea that, okay, I can have a signal card and for raw material replenishment in Toyota. So they started using a paper card, and then the Kanban cards came in circulation. Okay, and Kanban cards were attached to the finished product, and once it was sold, the cards were back into the circulation, and that amount of cards were, the raw material was again produced. So Toyota started producing small batches, and that is what they called as lean manufacturing. The idea of pull system became the central idea of Kanban during this time, and Taichi Uno created Toyota production system using the Kanban method here. So then what happened was this became famous, and in early 2000, The software industry was also moving towards the traditional development and more of agile way of working that got formalized, right? Like in the Agile Manifesto in the early 2000s. So there were multiple agile methodologies which were upcoming. And during the mid 2000s, there were a couple of people, leaders who published a couple of books, which is uh, Lean Product Development or Agile Toolkit from Mary Poppendick and Tom Poppendick. And during that time, David Anderson also started his investigations on the investigation on drum buffer rope of a system. Now, drum buffer rope is a system which is again like a flow-based pull system. That is where he started his concept. He wrote a book called again Software Engineering, Agile Software Engineering using drum buffer rope. Then during around 2004-2005, uh, he got some feedback from Donald Reinertsen uh, again, and where he implemented in 2007 a full-fledged Kanban board in a company called Corbis. And in 2010, he published a full-fledged book about the Kanban, which is the last one, which is Successful Evolutionary Change uh, for using Kanban, and that's the blue book. So David J. Anderson, he brought the Kanban into the software world, and he is known as the father of Kanban in the knowledge work. So what exactly is Kanban? Kanban is a Japanese word which means visual sign or billboard. So in terms of visual sign or billboard. So do you think, does this sound familiar to you, right? Okay, so most of the time we are bombarded with a lot of work items, project issues, emails to be responded in the office, notifications, and we are not able to complete even one thought before moving on to something else. So generally what happens, you go from answering the email to replying, to a chat. Okay. And across individuals, across teams and across organization, we lose a lot of items which are having competing priorities every day. And this results in, stressed workforce and overloaded workforce and underproductivity. And the fundamental issue here is we are not able to filter out the noise from the real work. So in terms of overloading and all that, what people think Kanban is basically, it's, it's, it's like a to do in progress and done thing. And it's a bunch of stickies on the board. I think someone has to go on mute, please. Okay. So, Senthil, can you go on mute, please? Senthil? Okay. So Kanban does derive a lot from visualization, but it's not just a to do in progress and done thing. Okay, it is beyond that. Okay, so what exactly is Kanban? So Kanban is nothing but a work management system designed for us to help visualize the work, limit work in progress, and maximize the efficiency. So when we talk about that, it is basically uh, cards on the board, which will help us to provide transparency. And the big board represents the state of the project. It helps the organization to continuously understand and improve and measure where they are. Kanban helps to deliver results for the organization. It is a pull-based system which exposes bottleneck. Also, Kanban, as I mentioned, was founded by David J. Anderson. It is a set of proven practices. There are 6 practices which we will see, and a couple of principles also which we will see in this today's webinar. It scales from individuals to teams to enterprise. So a couple of people think Kanban is just a board. As I was saying, it's like a to-do in progress and done thing. It's not that. Kanban can scale from individuals to teams to enterprises. And if you see, lot of other frameworks also use Kanban. If people are using SAFe here in this particular forum, they know that in program management, all the backlog, whatever, or at the portfolio level, most of the backlog is at a Kanban. It is managed by the Kanban. I'll just pause here. If there is any question or something, I can take it. Otherwise, I'll continue forward. Please stop me if there is any question. Okay. So in terms of this picture, have you seen this picture before? And what do you think about this picture? What is your feeling?
Bottleneck.
Bottleneck. Okay. What's happening actually?
Traffic jam.
Yes. Or people are going, everybody is going on vacation, or everybody is going at the same time to the office. And if you all people, couple of people are in Bangalore, I think I've tried to take this picture from Bangalore roads. So what can be done here to avoid this?
Limit the traffic.
Yeah, limit the traffic. How can we limit the traffic? What are the ways?
Be flyovers, underpass, alternate routes.
Okay.
We
So
can manage like bike should be in one line and big cars at one line.
okay. What else?
They can go in queue.
Yes. Very good. What else? Think a little more differently.
Carpools, public
Yes.
use of less vehicles and that way.
Public transport. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I think you guys covered most of it, but someone told we can build flyovers also, right? Now the question is, how easy it is to build a flyover here when we are in today's current situation is like this, and who's going to give us the permission to build the flyover? Okay, is it a easy job?
No.
It is an expensive affair, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So what we are actually trying to tell is we need additional capability. Okay, but there were rest of the answers also that okay, try to do carpool, or use public transport, try to follow maybe a particular lane. So we are trying to exploit our available resource and available thoughts and try to see how we can still increase our throughput or manage that demand. Okay, demand and based on the available capability or capacity. Makes sense, right? It is not easy for us to go and build new flyovers or new routes. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, does this relate to our work? Okay. Does this relate to our work, and does this sound familiar to you? What do you think is the bottleneck here?
Capacity.
When I said capacity, that entire stretch of that water is the capacity, I mean from the input to the output. So the height is the capacity at any stage. So what is the bottleneck here? Correct, that capacity is bottleneck, but can you just give me a pointed answer?
Less efficiency. The team is not totally efficient.
Team is not totally efficient. What do you mean by team is not totally efficient?
I mean, generally, if you have enough capacity and the output is still lower than the capacity, then
Okay.
it means that we are not working to the complete efficiency.
Okay. Can I call you Mrigya? Right?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Mrigya. Okay. So Mrigya, if you look at the output is less, right? My capacity is nothing but from the bottom black line to the top black line.
Yeah.
So my capacity on the last stage of deployment is more, but the output is not that much. Correct?
Yeah.
There is a white space somewhere in between. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, why do you think my output is less, even my capacity is more?
Because I think at the testing stage, something is wrong.
There is nothing wrong in this testing stage. Actually, the capacity of testing stage is how much?
Yeah.
Lesser than the deploy
capacity.
stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And development capacity is more than the testing stage. Correct? How are our teams? Okay, so what does our team do? Our teams are doing requirement, system analysis, design, development. It's just one of the flow which I have given as an exemplar, right? Okay, and different people are doing different things in a team, correct? Now there are requirements. The first stage generally does not have the bottleneck there, and it is all flowing. Now what happens is in system analysis, we have enough capacity, but the amount of requirements are less. So there is a slack in there, correct? They have a buffer. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the amount of work delivered by the system analysis team to the design team is more, but the design team, do they have that much capacity?
No, their capacity is less.
Less. So they take only as much as their capacity.
Yeah, right.
Correct. And they are providing to dev. Okay, pardon my drawing. This is handwritten picture. Uh, and then from dev, when it moves to test, what is the capacity? Maybe there are only two developers, but we have two testers only, but we have 6 developers. So if you look at, development is also having a slack, meaning buffer time or free time, that white space. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you find this familiar in your organization like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Now, this is a simple concept which we are trying to see. And what we are saying is, there is a demand. So what is a demand? Demand is nothing but the input which is coming, and capability, or based on the capacity, we are delivering the output. So what is the demand and what is our capability or capacity? Okay. So is it balanced right now?
No.
It is not balanced. Second thing is, where is the bottleneck here?
At the testing stage, there is capacity is very low.
Very less. Now, the same question which I am asking you previously, what I asked, okay, what can be done here?
We can increase the capacity at testing, or we can reduce, during the system analysis, or we can make it linear in a way.
Okay, so
Or
we can,
we,
yeah, go ahead,
or we
Imani.
can, sorry, or we can use cross-functional team, which like developers can do some testing as well.
Okay, very good. Okay, so earlier who was talking before you,
Jiten.
Jitendra. Huh? Jitendra, what was your answer?
Same thing. I mean, you increase capacities throughout the team. You make it same.
Okay, so we see, it is difficult or it is not easy to hire new people here in the testing team. But what we can do, if you see, there is a development team, there is a slack, system analysis team, there is a slack. Now the question is, can we add those people here and resolve that bottleneck? Right? Okay, what can be done? What can be done to identify, remove the bottleneck here? And we need a system. One is identify the bottleneck. If you are not able to identify the bottleneck, you will not be able to fix also. So this picture gives you a clear understanding of where is the bottleneck. We are on the same page, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, we need a system which will tell you where is the bottleneck. Only when there is a bottleneck, then you can think of, within the available resources in your hand, how you can fix the bottleneck. Correct? Okay, that is when you will be able to manage the demand and capability. Correct?
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
No.
Okay.
So just a lame one, but very straightforward. So just by looking at this diagram, is it safe to say wherever there is low capacity, there is the bottleneck?
No, I'm not saying wherever there is a low capacity, there is a bottleneck. Okay. Things can be different. It is just an exemplar to thought or a thought-provoking conversation which I am trying to have. Until unless you see, or it is transparent to you, or it is visual, you are able to visualize it, right? You'll not be able to make those calls. That's one thing which I'm trying to say. Okay. And the question which you have asked, I have one parking slide which I have removed from my webinar, but I will talk about it if I get time. Okay, because it is it's basically fundamentally, which I'm trying to say is, one size doesn't fit all, right? It's the same concept which you're saying. So bottlenecks are not same because due to capacity. Bottlenecks could be because of skills. Bottlenecks could be because of
Right.
from varying different type of budgets, different types of projects, difficult customer, complex requirement, complexity of the project, technical complexity. Bottlenecks can be due to anything. Okay, it is important for us to identify bottleneck, and we need a system for it to visualize and understand that and collaboratively improve, right? So that is the point which I am trying to build a case here.
Sure.
Okay.
Understood.
Now, I gave you a couple of examples. Now I'm just going to do a retrospective or summarize of what's wrong with the current system in the way we are working, right? Most of the times what happens is we are burnt out. Okay. Burnout meaning we are overloaded, overwhelmed with the work. Okay. Constant task changing, too much of work, frequent changes in the priority. We do vague sprint planning. Too much of work is stuffed in one sprint, right? Complex and regulated systems. Okay, problems are discovered too late. Lack of collaboration, lack of engagement, and poor moral. Okay, so these are the things which what is wrong in our current system. So now what I'm going to do you show you here is a simple Kanban board. Okay. Now, this is a simple Kanban board, and there are basically five elements of Kanban board. And the five elements of Kanban board are visual signals, columns, work in progress limits, commitment points, delivery points. These are the five elements of Kanban board. Now, so a Kanban board looks like this, and it is not same for everyone. So right now I have created columns like, backlog analysis, development in progress and done, test and done. So those are the columns. That is one of the component. Visual signals are nothing but the cards on this Kanban board, which is nothing but nothing but the yellow stickies or the orange stickies, which are kept here. Now I differentiated yellow stickies and the orange stickies. Now orange meaning maybe they are defect, or there is they are blocked, or there is a issue in that. That's why I made it orange. And rest of them are yellow because they are normal. There is no defect so far. They are just been worked upon, right? So I'm just giving you a visualization. So as soon as you see this board, you see, oh, in my system right now there are two defects. It's easy, right? I get visual signals. The key elements we notice is the visual cards. And for agile teams, generally these cards can represent a user story at a team level, right? In a program level, it can represent a feature, or in a portfolio level, it can represent a epic. Okay. So once these cards are placed on the board, any team member or stakeholder will be able to identify what's happening and what's going on and what is the current state of work. Okay. And if you see, there are some icons here. Do you know what these icons are? There is a blue, green, and pink icon here. You're able to see my mouse over there?
Yeah, we can see, but don't know.
Okay, there are those icons placed on the stick keys. Some of these are placed on the stick keys. What do you mean by that? Basically, these three people are not doing any work, but we have that much capacity to do work. Okay, so the question is, okay, can they take more work? Okay, can I increase my WIP limit? Okay, so the numbers here is nothing called as nothing but WIP limit. WIP limit is nothing but the work in progress limits a column can have. Okay, so the backlog WIP limit is infinity here, and the done column WIP limit is infinity here. Now, why backlog is infinity? You can have n number of ideas, but once the ideas are prioritized, they are moved into the analysis. The analysis WIP limit is 3. It means my number of cards which could be in progress at a given point in time can be 3 maximum. Okay, so that is what we are saying, and the limit is 3. Why do you know why we will limit the cards maybe only up to 3?
Yeah, because if you do 4 and they don't have, the other person cannot handle 4, then it will be a bottleneck.
Limited resource.
Yes, so it means it will be too much work in progress, and our focus will be in doing more things rather than finishing things. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we want to do is whatever is in test, we want to put it to done so that we achieve that success, right? We want to move it forward. Okay, whatever is done in development, we want to pick it for testing and move it forward, right? So these three guys, what they can do essentially, there's a WIP limit of 3 here, but not much of work is in progress. Possibly they can pull the sticky here, correct? And they can start working on it, correct? So that is how the board works. Now, what are these columns here? Expedite, fixed state, standard, intangible. What are these? Are called as swim lanes, not columns. Sorry, these are called as swim lanes. What are these? Any idea?
Yes, I mean,
Priority of work.
yeah,
It is it is priority of work, or the way we are trying to treat the work. So it is the way we treat the work. So if you look at couple of people may be working on a project, okay, where you guys are working on a user story, and suddenly there is a defect from the production. What you guys will do? Will you say, no, I have been assigned a user story and I will do that later?
No, that will be priority. If
So
production
the
not.
production defect takes more priority. So we will put that in a expedite lane. Okay. So, but everything, all the internal defects, you will not go and put it in expedite lane, that you will have to take care internally. But let's say there's a urgent or critical defect, which will stall the entire system and entire work. It's like a escalation. You'll put that in expedite lane. So you stop what you're working and start working on that. Okay. Now, when there is something in the backlog of expedite lane, what you will do generally in your daily stand up, or, you will check, okay, there is a urgent issue. You'll stop current work, you'll discuss, and you'll move that forward, and you'll move, right? So based on the capacity here, once this ticket is moved here, now, for example, if I move this ticket from here to here, okay, then only I will be able to move one more ticket from here, and a pull signal is created because of the WIP limit. So WIP enables the pull signal, and WIP also provides early warning that you have committed too much if there is too much work in progress. Correct? And how do you determine what should be your WIP limit? So there is no right or wrong formula about it, but again, it evolves. The important thing is it evolves. So let's say I have around 5 members in my team. So, and let's say I have 5 developers, and what I can do is I can have set a WIP of five. Okay, I can begin with five, or 5+1 as my WIP limit. Okay, so that if there is one thing which is blocked, I can pick the other thing, or 5+2, whatever is the thing. And based on that, you will start working on WIP limit. There are a couple of concepts which are like, Little's law, which is nothing but your which provides you the throughput throughput WIP limit and the lead time. So based on the lead time which you require and the throughput which you require, also you can manage the WIP limit. Throughput is nothing but the rate at which you deliver your work. Okay. So if you want to deliver your work faster, your WIP should be lesser. Correct? Okay. Otherwise, your lead time will increase if your WIP is higher. Right? So that is what is the Little's law state. Based on that Little's law also, you can determine your WIP. Now, we saw three items, which is nothing but visual signals, which is nothing but the cards, the columns, which is the backlog analysis. This is workflow state. And we also saw WIP limits. These are the three items of this Kanban board. The other two items of Kanban board are commitment point and delivery point. What is commitment point? From the backlog, whenever this card will enter, whenever this card enters into analysis phase, is nothing but commitment point. So what we are trying to say is, once it enters into analysis phase, we are committing that we are going to deliver that, and there is no looking back again after that. Okay. What does it mean? It means that if I am in development in progress of this card, can I abandon this card and say I will do it later?
No.
Okay. It means what we are doing, we are wasting some time and we have not rightly prioritized. Then we will talk about how many items you have abandoned. Correct? Okay, so how many items you have abandoned? Okay, versus from here backlog you can discard. So it is okay to discard from here, which we don't want to do. But if you stop here, you have wasted some effort and you're abandoning that work. So you don't want to do that, right? So this is your commitment point. Okay, so don't abandon the items which enter into your analysis. Okay, uh, don't do that. And delivery point is nothing but delivery point is nothing but when it enters from test to done. Correct? So there is this commitment point here from backlog to analysis, and from test to done, it is your delivery point. Okay. Any questions on this?
I have, but not on this. Can I ask?
If you can ask if that topic I'm covering, I will tell you the answer. Otherwise, if it is off the topic, if time permits, I will talk to you later.
Okay, you just some time ago you mentioned sprint planning in your conversation. So I want to know, this Kanban is like continuous flow. So
Right.
does it also have a sprint planning? Because if there is a sprint planning there, then there will be a halt in the, you know, when the iteration will end, so
Okay.
that there will
So
not be
uh,
continuous flow.
maybe as an exemplar, I might have mentioned sprint planning, but there is no sprint planning in Kanban. There is something called replenishment meeting. Replenishment meeting happens when you are picking up the items from backlog to analysis. Replenishment meeting is nothing but which are the items which are getting prioritized to pick in the your first commitment point.
Okay. Okay. So once you have, suppose you have picked up 5 story points in your replenishment meeting, and
Mhm.
team
Five
has
stories or 5 story point.
5 story points, for example, and
Okay.
team has completed those 5 story points, and then again they go back to replenishment meeting, and again they pull 5 story point. So is this the correct way, or it is halting the work in progress, the
No.
continuous
So
progress?
see, what we are trying to do here is, okay, when you pick the item, see your WIP limit here in analysis. So
Yeah.
ignore the story point concept, because I don't want to get into the story point concept in Kanban right now,
Okay.
because we don't deal much with the story point here. So for now, just think of it as what you are saying is you are taking one user story, you are moving it into the analysis. Later again, suddenly after 2 days, you want to put another story into analysis. Is that what you are saying?
I mean that you are, suppose you have taken 3 stories in the analysis, and then 2 stories you have taken after 2 days in the in progress development done, and then you are continuously moving those stories, those three.
Correct.
Then
Yes.
you come back to replenishment meeting, and again then you pick again three.
Yes. Now the
So
first question which I have is, how many items are there in this column at that point in time?
sometimes this column is empty.
If this column is empty, you can put maximum three items in this.
So the idea is the first analysis column should always be 3. That will make
No,
it.
no, no, no. It is not always be three.
But
It is maximum is three. Your capacity or the WIP limit which you have set is three. It can be two also. If you feel that, okay, I just want to pick up two and I want to put one guy who's working on analysis into testing so that I can expedite testing, so be it.
okay, got your point.
Okay, what we are trying, so what you explained right now is nothing but a pull signal. So let's say if this item is not there here, this particular sticky is not there, it means there are only two items. So how much capacity we have here? Three, correct?
Yeah,
Total capacity is three, but used capacity is only two. So we have available capacity of one.
correct.
So you can pull one more item here.
Okay,
So it enables your pull signal.
got it.
So WIP limit enables pull signal. Okay.
Okay,
So there are a couple of other things which are nothing but like policies. Policies nothing but it helps for people to be on the same place. For example, what analysis meaning creating of, whatever specification documentation, getting that reviewed and getting that approved. And that's basically the policy. And for development, the done criteria could be one of the example of the policy. So people can have policies, and we are trying to put those policies also on board so that people are aware of how the overall workflow works. And when you're doing your daily stand up or the Kanban meeting, daily Kanban meeting in front of the board, your focus is on going through from the extreme right towards the left. So you talk about first what's on the extreme right column, okay, when it's going to complete, and so on, what are we trying to do, and the same concept. Okay, and you're basically focusing on how we can move the items from left to right faster. Okay, and focuses on the extreme right to move into the completion of the done state. Okay, let's move forward. So let's look at a little bit of difference between Scrum and Kanban. Now, in terms of difference between Scrum and Kanban is basically Scrum is nothing but fixed time boxes, and the fixed time boxes are basically for the sprints, 1 week or 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks. Generally, 2 or 3 is the typical what we see. Whereas Kanban is a continuous process and not time bound. Okay, so when Kanban is a continuous process and not time bound, when does the prioritization or replenishment happen?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
So you want to ask that question? I'm asking you that question. What do you think?
Generally, when people complete those points taken in the replenishment meeting, then they come back again to the replenishment meeting.
Okay, see, so when does the replenishment? So basically, is there a rule for Kanban to have replenishment meeting? It is good to have replenishment meeting in a right cadence, but for you to be agile, okay, you can have whenever you have capacity, right?
Correct.
Okay, so when I say whenever you have capacity, if you have capacity in this analysis phase today, so if only one ticket is there, you can pull one or more tickets into this and start working on it. Correct?
Correct.
You don't have to wait for that next Monday to come or Wednesday to come to, to do your planning. Okay, that if you are doing on demand replenishment, what it means, you are the most agile. Okay, delivering right thing at the right time and quickly, right? You are adapting quickly as soon as you are. Okay, otherwise you keep on waiting for that particular period, then you are breaking that continuous process and not time bound, right?
Right.
Okay, roles and responsibilities. I think most of you guys are aware, predefined roles in Kanban, Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Delivery Team. Whereas Kanban does not have predefined rules. I think someone is something. Okay. So in terms of, and we'll touch base on the roles also, predefined roles or no predefined roles little later in the principles when we cover. Okay. Pull system. So each sprint starts with sprint planning meeting. So they come up with the sprint backlog for the items to be pulled in the sprint. Okay. Whereas in Kanban, each column has a WIP limit and pull is enabled when capacity is available. I think you understood that, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
What's your name, by the way?
Jitendra.
Jitendra. Thanks, Jitendra. Okay. Team works on sprint backlog for sprint duration. New items have to wait for completion of the sprint. Whereas here, development team works based on the pull signal. That is what we were discussing most agile, right?
Yes.
Okay. Daily stand-up. Scrum Masters and the team attend daily stand-up. Development team attends daily stand-up here. Okay. At the end of each sprint, it includes a demo, feedback, incomplete items are returned to the product backlog. Correct. Here, each item can be demoed or packaged for release as soon as it is completed. Correct.
Right.
Okay. So as soon as it completed, and if the customer wants to take delivery, you can give the delivery. Okay. Retrospective at the end of each sprint, periodically as decided by the team, retrospective. So there is no cadence actually that, okay, on this particular Saturday we will do, or this particular Friday we are going to do retrospective. The team decides, okay, we will have to do periodically. Okay, this is the cycle which we will follow. And it's basically the team comes up with, what to do. So basically, if you look at Kanban again is more of, team driven, and everybody contributes and it creates that engagement in the team. What are the fundamental Kanban practices? What we discuss right now, I'm just going to summarize. We talked about visualization, and you know what is visualization now. Okay, so it is visualization is basically making your work visual, your process, your cards. Okay, and when we make it visual, we are able to see what's happening, and any stakeholder or your team members will also know what's going on. Okay, limiting work in progress. There is, for every column there is a maximum limit which we can use. Okay, the limit work in progress enables us to create that pull signal or the Kanban signal. Managing flow. So what do you mean by managing flow? What do you mean by managing flow?
Like
So,
whenever there is 3, 3, 3, so we are
Mhm.
managing that.
Right. So basically, you've gone, if you guys are part of Bangalore traffic, if you are going from Silk Boat to Whitefield, okay, and you are stuck in between, do you like that? We don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want the system to flow, and we want the system tickets also to flow. Otherwise, the WIP will grow, or the work in progress will grow, and there'll be traffic jam in our system, actually, if I have to tell you that. Okay. So what we mean is, by flow, we mean the movement of the work items through the production process. So our focus should be on moving the items from left to right quickly, and we have to manage that flow, identify those bottlenecks, play with our WIP to ensure that there is a flow. Otherwise, if there is no flow, things will get stuck. What are the other examples apart from WIP will impact the flow?
Capacity.
Of course, capacity. In terms of quality, if there are defects, what will happen? The flow is impeded.
Yeah, it will reopen
Correct.
and
If there is no
yeah.
collaboration to integrate your work items between teams or team members, the flow is impacted.
And a technical blockers.
Correct. Okay. So the flow is impacted by multiple things, and there are various aspects of impacting this flow, and you should be able to determine why you should be able to analyze when there is your WIP is growing at a particular place, or your flow is impacted, your tickets are not moving from left to right. What is the cause of it? Whether it is a quality issue, technical blocker, or integration issue, there are multiple defects in a particular feature, or changes in the requirement, whatever it could be, right? People not available, capacity issue, and why it could be happening. We need to analyze it and continuously improve, right? Then making policies explicit is nothing but having the right policies for the right state of workflow. Now, any example of a development policy which you can give?
Like standard code and code review.
Okay, so if I'm writing a front-end code, okay, if I'm writing maybe a jQuery or a JavaScript or whatever, should I even write my Q units? Okay, Q unit is again a unit test for JavaScript. Some companies do not write. Should I review that code? Should I have wireframes reviewed? Whatever it could be, right? In terms of my APIs or whatever, should I write my, unit test? Should I write my unit test which is greater than 80%, and they should pass in my whatever, in my continuous integration server? My API test, whether my API test should be automated and it should also pass, what should be that metric? Okay, what should be my static code analysis feedback? Whether should I have my any major opens in the static code analysis? There could be various policies, and when you have these policies, what does it mean for all the developers? They exactly know when they say it done, what does it mean by that? And you don't have to keep on telling, Array, you guys have not done this, you guys have not done unit test. No, it was not written. The policy is very clear. When you are writing an artifact of a front end, when you are writing an artifact of a API, when you are writing an artifact of a schema or whatever indexing, okay, these are the policies for the various artifact. The policies could differ, and we are coming onto the same page, right? So then together collaboratively team discusses and manages the policies can be added, removed, and etc., right? So that is about the policies. Implementing feedback loops. Feedback loops are important. Feedback loops are important for us to continuously improve. And there are various feedback loops. One of the feedback loop is your daily Kanban meeting or daily stand-up meeting. Okay, your replenishment meeting is also a feedback loop. Delivery planning meeting or service delivery meeting. So there are basically 7 cadences in Kanban, beyond the scope of the webinar, but there are operations review, risk review, strategy review. So there are various feedback loops which we can apply, and uh, we can take the feedback and continuously improve. Improve collaboratively, evolve experimentally. So we are here talking about act of leadership. Okay, when we talk about act of leadership, it is basically the team together collaboratively discusses swarms around this board, discusses what is important, what is not important. Okay, if someone is trying to pick up a standard ticket when there is a expedite user story or defect already available, in the daily Kanban, we discuss, oh, there is already expedite ticket. Why are you picking up new ticket? When you have a capacity, you can do a expedite ticket. So that's the kind of transparency and which Kanban will bring, and you will improve collaborative. And if you are not doing these 6 principles, you are actually not doing Kanban. That's the point which I'm trying to say. Okay. If you're not doing these 6 things, you're not actually doing Kanban. Now, why personally also I like Kanban is basically of these key principles of Kanban. Now, when we talk about the key principles, uh, how do we go on implementing Kanban with teams, right? So if you have to implement any other methodology, there is a demand for, these many roles should be present, product owner should be there, scrum master should be there, and all that. And that is when we can start scrum team. Whereas with respect to the principles of Kanban, start with what you do now. It means we are not trying to change any of your process or methodology, whatever you are following in your organization. We are not going to change any of your roles. We will start with what you do now, and we will start with visualizing, modeling your Kanban system or Kanban board. Okay, we will model your process. We will come up with the columns. We will come up with all the process flow and etc. We respect the current processes, roles, and responsibilities. We are not going to change whatever roles you are having, whatever responsibilities you are having. Whoever is doing the requirements or prioritization will move the items from backlog to to the analysis during the commitment point. Okay, the same roles will continue to play. We are not going to ask for it. Now, while we are doing this, if we find by looking at the board, okay, hey, you know what, this is becoming a bottleneck. If we improve this particular process like this, we will be able to do much better. So the third principle is nothing but agree to pursue incremental change and evolutionary change. So we are not telling what change to do. Basically, the team evolves the change at it, and it automatically determines what changes we need to do, and changes are evolutionary, and we agree to do incremental changes and evolutionary changes. That's the third principle. The last principle is about encouraging acts of leadership at all levels. When we talk about encouraging acts of leadership at all levels, from the individual level, at the team level, okay, it could be, okay, I don't have work, I am stuck, okay, I am free, I am overloaded. So these are the acts of leadership where we are providing a culture of openness, collaboration, etc. And that is when Kanban team will be successful. Okay. Now, any questions so far? Okay. So
When to choose if you'll go for Scrum or Kanban, if there is any specific rule?
sorry, your question is basically whether you should go for Scrum or Kanban. Is there any
Yeah,
specific
rule or
role or rule?
rule to decide if you will go for Scrum or I will go for Kanban.
Okay. So see, I would not talk about Scrum much, but fundamentally, when you will go to Scrum, okay, see, Kanban will work in any of the situations. So there is no rule for Kanban actually. Kanban works in any complex situation. But whereas in terms of the Scrum, if you want to do a sprint planning, what is required for you? All the user stories
Yeah,
ready,
backlog. Yeah, backlog
correct?
and backlog
You
should be
require
ready.
the
Yeah.
roles also required for you,
Yeah, right,
product
right.
owner and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, uh, now when there are changing priorities, so see how many organizations are having a well-defined backlog and things are going in a smoother way, right? So that's the case which we built here, right? When I showed you the demand versus capability and the earlier pictures. Okay, what I was trying to say is not every environment is same, and I think that's what the question which Jitender also asked. Okay, so basically I'll go to my appendix slide. Okay, every team is having different skill set. I did not wanted to show you, but I'm just skipping this because you asked me this question. Teams are having different skill sets, levels of experience, levels of capability. Projects have different budget, schedule, scopes, and risk profile. Organizations have value chains, target market. Correct. Every organization, every project is complex based on these dimensions. Right. Now, based on these dimensions, you may not have the same thing, okay, a ready backlog and everything to do in a right way. Here, what we are proposing is nothing but, okay, start with what you do now, respect the roles and processes, agree to pursue incremental change, and you are modeling your own workflow process. You are designing your own Kanban system. And design how to design a Kanban system. I'm just going to talk about that in the last slide. Okay, in terms of, how do we learn how to design a Kanban system? There are various techniques like static, and we do case studies. I will come talk about it a little later. Okay, just give me a few minutes. We are at the end of the session.
Sure.
Okay, now why fundamentally Kanban? Fundamentally Kanban because it provides transparencies. It is less resistance because we are not changing any role, we are not changing any process, we are not saying this is how you need to do. So far I have not told you this is how you have to do, right? Okay, just what we are saying is we need to visualize it. So it's basically a fundamental method which encourages collaboration. Okay, and it helps the teams to self-organize in a true sense. Kanban exposes bottlenecks. As soon as you see the board, you will be able to see, okay, there is something which is stuck, and you can determine why those bottlenecks are happening. It works for any kind of environment or knowledge work process. Focus on managing work then rather than managing people. Okay, so you are basically managing the board, and you're not managing people who you should do this task and you should do that task. And it promotes continuous improvement, truly agile way of working. And there's a quote, if you can't see, you can't improve it. That's what we are trying to say. That's why Kanban, right? Now, when we look about certain trends, okay, and this trend is from the scrum.org itself. Okay, there's a URL which is also provided here. How many people, what practices do you use in addition to Scrum? 81% say Kanban, 55% DevOps, 34% TDD and XP. So Kanban, 81% of the teams are already using Kanban, right? So that is one of the trend which we are seeing. Job trend also, it is growing up and up, and this is from payscale.com. Okay, so it is continuously growing up in terms of the trends for job. Now, when I talk about when I talk about the learning path for Kanban, right? So when I talk about the learning path for Kanban, there are two learning paths here. One is when I say two learning paths, there are two credentials: Team Kanban Practitioner and Kanban Management Professional. And there are three courses here. One is Team Kanban Practitioner, Kanban Management Professional 1. It is also called as Kanban System Design. Kanban Management Professional 2, also called as Kanban System Improvement. Okay. Now, Kanban Management Professional 1 deals with single Kanban service. When I say single Kanban service, it talks about one product line of your organization. Okay. Can you guys go on mute? Someone's speaking. Okay. So, so Kanban Management Professional 1 is for, people like who are team leaders or managing a team, okay, or managers. It will help them, okay, or executives or directors also. Kanban Management 2 also for team leaders, managers, okay, or agile coaches, or who are getting into that particular path. Team Kanban Practitioner is a fundamental Kanban course. It is only for the team, for the team members to understand how Kanban as a system works, and how to operate on day-to-day basis, but not for managers or people who are trying to bring change in the organization, right? So these are the 3 foundational courses in Kanban. At the end of every course, you get a certificate in Kanban. So I believe StarAgile is having a course on KMP1, which I will be leading on Jan 23rd and 24th. It is a weekend course from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Right? Okay. If there are any questions, I think we have few minutes which I can take it up.
Sir, meanwhile, can I do the poll?
Yeah, go ahead.
Priyal, what is Scrumban?
Okay, now again, there are uh, various flavors which people come up with. Now, Scrumban is another technique. What we are trying to do here is uh, uh, we are trying to talk about implementing Kanban where a Kanban on a process of Scrum. So what
Okay.
I told was, as a principle, right? Start with what you do now, correct? Start with what you do now. And so when we talk about start with what you do now, you're not changing the process. So you can have Scrum along with Kanban working together. So Kanban works along with Scrum. Kanban can work with the traditional development. It can work with any of the processes what you have. And Scrumban is a mixture or hybrid of Scrum and Kanban. But there your fundamentally your replenishment is coming from sprint planning.
Okay.
Okay, so on your commitment point, you're doing a push there. Okay, a bunch of items goes, and at the end of the sprint, you clean up the entire Kanban board and re-begin again. But here in the current Kanban, it's a continuous process. This is the most agile way of doing.
Yeah.
Priyal, in Kanban, like, is it that too much of ad hoc requirement is taken up since we don't have any set of rules? So, like, do we handle a lot of ad hoc requirements and a lot of requirement changes?
So it is not about the question, do we handle ad hoc requirements? Does your whether your need is handling ad hoc requirements? That's a question which you need to ask yourself. If your need is handling ad hoc requirements and changing requirements, your customer is tough, or your product owner, your product management is tough, they are always changing requirements, then maybe you want to, you're not able to sustain even an iteration without a change. Right?
True.
Best place to be in. And when these rallies and jiras or whatever, they are called as information freezers. If you have a visualization like this, it is there in front of your eyes what work and what progress is happening. Correct? And based on that progress, you can say, okay, we are already working on these many items. Should we pick now one more item, or what do we abandon? Right? See, our capacities are full, our WIP is full. This is a conversation which the Kanban board will enable.
True, but ideally, like, it doesn't go like that, right? Like, we have to take up the requirements which are like too much pulled in. So in that scenarios, like, is it good to use Kanban or Scrumban?
See, Kanban will definitely work. What I'm trying to say is Kanban will definitely work. How it will help also, trying to say is, so let's say I'm product management, I'm pushing you for the requirement. Okay, I already gave you a couple of requirements last week, and your work is in progress, right? Now, when you show me the Kanban board, okay, see, Priyal, this is what was our backlog. This is what we agreed to move forward, and this is what we prioritized last time. And this is how we are moving. Currently, we have so much of capacity. These many people are working on these items. Correct? Now, if you want to change the requirement, we need to complete that, or we need to have a change. Okay. If it is to an existing item, then you are doing a change, then the lead time of that item will increase.
True.
Lead time is nothing but the time from the delivery commitment point to the delivery point.
Yeah.
Correct? So you can have those kind of conversations when you open up that Kanban board and show to them. Now, if you say, okay, both my hands are full, you are giving me more requirements. How do I handle it? What should I drop?
True.
Correct? But if you don't have this kind of visualization, you are challenged to talk. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, if you are moving in a direction of management or, agile program manager or, kind of agile coach or whatever, Kanban gives a all-round different kind of different kind of um, this one proven practices and principles for you to enable agility in the way you are working, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I would say.
Okay.
Can I
Okay.
ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Jira the how good Jira is with Kanban?
Okay,
Is there
so
any other good tool better than Jira?
okay, so I wouldn't comment on that in terms of the tools, but there are tools because again, tools, it depends on how good you are at using the tool. Okay, maybe I also may not be good at using Jira. Okay, I have used Azure DevOps and Rally.
Because
Okay.
when we do
Yeah, I can answer.
yeah.
Stephen here. Yeah, so I use Rally, and Rally covers almost everything of Kanban as well as Scrum, and it is widely used for a kind of safe arrangement, scaled agile. And I think there was one more question about the sprint planning. So so sprint planning, when you consider your storage, and if you want to also kind of, there will be a different tags which you can maintain, and that gives you a Kanban visualization. But it also gives you more of its own reports as well.
Yeah, because CFD and control charts in Jira are very difficult to understand sometimes.
Yeah. So I found Rally much better than Jira, especially when it is for a safe environment.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question on the number, like what we say is capacity that you assign number 3 or 5 or to your work in progress. How
WIP
do you
limit.
how do you do that? Like, what's the criteria for doing that?
So there is no right or wrong this one. So what we say is begin with the amount of people, number of people which you have. You
Mm-hmm.
can just put a +1 or +2 on that and put a WIP limit. And
Okay.
what we are doing is we are agreeing to pursue incremental changes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say that WIP limit is not working out for us. The WIP limit, if it is not working out for us, why it may not work out? Okay, it may be because we are taking too much WIP in that, or
Yeah.
we may be having a slack there. Slack meaning buffer, mean we are considered the WIP as less.
True.
Okay, and WIP limit is not same for different projects. It is, context specific again.
Okay.
Correct. So you can begin with the number of people +1 or 2. If it is 5, you can just put it as 7 and begin with that, and then you can evolve after maybe 2 weeks or so. Should you keep the same WIP limit, or you want to reduce it or increase it further?
Okay.
Again, what are the other items which you want to take care? If you increase it further, what will happen to your lead time? Lead time will also increase.
Yeah.
Correct. What is the lead time you require? So that is one of the, so you want to apply little slow there in terms of, if you want to have reduced lead time, it means go to market faster. You want to reduce your WIP there.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So in
And
this,
same team can work on different Kanban boards, or like or they have to follow one Kanban or something like that.
okay. So fundamentally, same team can work on different Kanban boards. Here, what we are saying is, as long as that is what is your process, if that is
Mm-hmm.
how you guys are working, and couple of companies, right? We see resources, one resource working on multiple projects.
True.
They can work on multiple Kanban boards.
True. And
But
there's
what will
no.
happen? He is
Yeah.
context switching. We need to
Yeah.
understand that. And
Yeah.
he's one of the item, if he's working on Kanban board A and he's working on again Kanban board B. When I'm talking about these two Kanban boards, basically is working on two product developments, or two services together at the
Mm-hmm.
same time.
True.
Okay, so one service is already stuck when he's working on the other one, right?
Right.
So you need to be aware of those and what will happen to your WIP.
True. Yeah.
But
Thanks.
that capability you will not get in other methodologies.
Yeah. Thanks. And last question is, like, do we have a fixed number? Like in Scrum, we have 3+3, or like 5 to
No,
9
there is
team
no
members.
fixed number. There is no
Okay.
fixed number. Start with what you do now. Whatever you are, we will begin with that. and later you determine that, okay, oh, we are 12 people and this 12 people is so much, and it is good to break up teams like this, and we can have different concept of kanbans. Again, the various kanban boards which are available in that KMP1 class we teach you. Okay, so based on that you can determine how you want to do
Yeah.
that.
And the certifications that we take up,
Priya, okay.
sorry, last question. So what's the like job role that we can go ahead if after taking any of the certifications? So like since we don't have any specific Kanban role, so like when you're applying, so what role I'll be applying for?
See, basically when we are talking about kanban, we are talking about agile project management again here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you will be able to manage a team or service or a product entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is what is the job role, and eventually your next career path moves into your being a agile coach, or a coach or product delivery coach.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
And where you are trying to coach teams where there is less resistance. So kanban, there is no resistance, because you are not trying to change anything much. Begin with what you do now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Respect the current roles and responsibilities, and you move forward. So
So
you will
essentially,
understand how to do that technique.
yeah, so essentially, whosoever takes this agile, path, essentially they'll have to go towards the coaching direction, or how is it?
See, it depends on personal interest, right? I don't know if there are a couple of people who are technical who still write the code. They can still be agile as well as been writing the code. It is again personal interest. If you're only into management, that is one of the option you have to be a
Okay.
product delivery coach. And again, when you be into product delivery coach, you need to understand the engineering practices and various other things. And that is when you get into the agile coaching. So when we talk about agile coaching, you need to have fundamental understanding of various frameworks, and kanban is one of the framework which is used along with scrum. Also, it is also used along with safe also. If you are going into safe also, we talk about kanban at a team level, we talk about kanban in the program level, we talk about solution kanban and your epics lean portfolio kanban. And beyond the team level, it is only kanbans actually, if you look at. Okay, so nothing else
Yeah,
it
Priyal,
is.
I have.
I
Yeah,
have
so
one.
I have one question. So who has defined this Scrum ban? Is it coming out from one of the what is that, parent companies like Kanban, Scrum, Safe, or it is more of a generic IT term which has been used?
No. It is so it is defined by someone. Okay, I do not recollect the name of that person. Okay, um, it is defined by someone as a Scrum ban, as how to use Scrum and Kanban together. Okay, but when we talk about Kanban, it generally we talk about applying kanban to any of the environment. So when we are talking about kanban, right, we tell you how to implement kanban on any of the environment.
And what are the ceremonies required to maintain
so
Kanban?
so in terms of ceremonies, right, so see, actually, when we discussed in terms of the fundamental principles, it is basically start with what you do now. It's the current process only. Now, there are various ceremonies which will come in picture, which is nothing but your daily Kanban replenishment meeting, delivery planning meeting, service delivery. And eventually what happens is these ceremonies are at a higher maturity level teams. Okay. Now, when we talk about higher maturity level teams that you are following Kanban at a org level, okay, you start mapping your existing team meetings with those ceremonies and make slight changes into it to adapt it. So for example, you're maybe you are using traditional development scrum or whatever. I'm saying, okay, we need to do a replenishment meeting. It means prioritization. Okay, so
Yeah.
in any of the items, in any of the development, definitely you're going to do prioritization. And who
Yeah,
does
right.
prioritization? We are not bothered, we are just trying to map. We are only saying that you need to do replenishment. How you do is left to the underlying process. So that is what we are saying. Begin with what, start with what you do now, and respect the current roles and responsibilities and processes.
Okay, so mainly there will be replenishment and the daily standard.
At a team level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question. When we have Kanban across the organization, so out of so many products, say 5 products are going with Kanban. So are they using the same Kanban board, like with same number of columns, or it can vary from
Right.
product?
So I was trying to tell, I think Jitender or someone asked, one size does not fit all. What Kanban board I gave you, do not take that as, the Kanban board. It is just a sample Kanban board. Every Kanban implementation is context specific and context specific, and it will follow your current work process, whatever the way you are working and the way your team is working. And from there, the team will evolve the board to the next level and become agile. Okay.
And what are the reports generally? Just I want to know. I will search online for those, but what should we check as an agile coach for Kanban? What should we measure? Is it just the velocity or?
So when we talk about reporting for agile coaches, right? So how is your team performing? How would you know how is your team performing? It is nothing but rate at which your team is delivering, and we call that as your throughput. And in other words, in your words, what you said was velocity. So we are talking about throughput. Second, how quickly your team is delivering is nothing but your lead time. Okay. There are other metrics which will help you to identify bottlenecks and all that, which is nothing but what is your work in progress. You will be able to determine your team performance using your lead time or lead time and throughput. Again, you can see cumulative flow diagram and mapping of cumulative flow diagram in terms of the lanes, right? How much work is in progress, and if the work in progress is increasing, why, what happened, and if something is stuck there, you'll be able to identify bottlenecks. So there are around 6 metrics, okay, fundamentally, which you can look at. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
I think we have shot over 10 to 12 minutes. Thank you for asking question and making it interactive. But of course, Arpan, if we have 2 or 3 minutes, I can take 1 or 2 questions. And yeah, Arpan, is there anything else which you want to add? Or guys, you can ask one or two questions.
Nothing, sir. From my end, nothing.
One more question. When we do estimation for various tasks or various items or backlog items, it is always in terms of user stories or how is it done generally?
So I did not talk about anything on the estimation, correct? So when I did not talk about estimation, we are not talking here about estimation. Estimation is a way to forecast. Anyway, customers need estimates. So you can follow your current process of estimation to provide them. But however, when you have lead time like a matrix, lead time will tell you, how many percentile of items I'm able to deliver within, 5 days, how many percentile of the items I'm able to deliver in 8 days. So that's the kind of metric which the lead time will provide you. Correct. Okay. So based on the lead time, you'll be able to tell, okay, what could be your SLAs, right? So if I'm able to deliver, 10 items per week, or 20 items per month. Okay. That's the kind of metrics which we get. Now what you are asking is, first do the estimate and then hold the team responsible. We are not in that game here. But of course, forecasting is important. So you just follow the current process of forecasting based on your historical data.
Yeah, but then that assumes that all the tasks are equally like duration or equal work amount of work. But if
No,
that
it
is
is
not the
not that
case,
all the tasks. See, what we are trying to say is, this is beyond the scope of this webinar. But if you look at the lead time distribution, right? Okay, so lead time distribution, if you study, you will get to know that you can draw a couple of lines, okay, in terms of percentile, and you can say 85 percentile of my items can be delivered within 12 days based on the historical data. Okay, for that particular project.
okay. Because velocity,
Make
if you
sense?
want to go through like some metric, because
Velocity
I'm
is
not
your throughput
traveling.
here.
Yeah.
Throughput you can use by adding some buffers to forecast again. Velocity is nothing but throughput here. Throughput is nothing but your delivery rate at which you are delivering in a periodic time interval. Okay, you can add some buffers and again still forecast like how you forecast using velocity.
Okay.
Okay, but velocity and estimate is different. You know that, right? Velocity is nothing but the real amount of work which is delivered.
Okay.
Here we call it as throughput.
Okay. And all the and suppose if we have a Kanban board for a product, not all work items might go through all the columns, because certain tasks might be just analysis and they're
Yes,
done.
correct. You are perfectly correct. Yeah.
So that is fine, right? I mean, we just push them to done.
Right. So you will cross on those swim lanes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.